Finding out that my test strip did work, it brought to me the mind that, hey, maybe I could help save someone's life.
Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most useful things invented by kids. And yes, teenagers count here also.
Forget that. The future is electric television.
Number 20, man cans, Heart, Maine.
The idea came to me that there weren't any man-scented candles.
Or at least very few.
Like any good brother, Heart Maine would sometimes poke fun at his sister. On one such occasion, Maine was teasing his sister about the so-called girly scented candles she was selling for a school fundraiser, saying that she should have more manly scents. Well, his parents heard the joke and told their 13-year-old son that he should do it himself. So he did, and Man Cans was born. Candles with scents like sawdust and coffee, fresh-cut grass, and new baseball mitt. To add an even more male-centric touch, Maine put his candles in used soup cans, donating the contents to soup kitchens across his state. Knowing that, we like the candles even more now.
We just served 250 cans of soup at a soup kitchen in Lima.
Number 19, the Oinksaurus App, Fabian Fernandez Hahn.
Okay, Oinksaurus is an iPhone and iPod Touch app, and it's meant to teach kids about the stock market.
For most of us, the concept of saving money and investing for our future was not something we really thought about until we were older, and then wish we had started when we were younger. Well, that is never going to be a regret for Fabian Fernandez Hahn, given that he was 10 years old when he started saving. If that isn't enough to make you jealous and impressed, when he was 12 years old, the New York Stock Exchange had a competition to create something that would help educate kids about investing. Fernandez Hahn invented the Oinksaurus application and won the contest.
But you know, Fabian, 12-year-olds don't invest that often, so we're hoping that that application will be popular by kids and their parents.
Number 18, T-Pack, Kelly Reinhardt. Next time you're stuck inside on a rainy day with nothing to do, just think about Kelly Reinhardt and how a day just like that was the beginning of a $1 million idea. Reinhardt was just 6 years old when her parents, one rainy afternoon, challenged her and her siblings to draw an idea for an invention, pledging to turn the best idea into a prototype. Kelly's idea was for a hip holster thing to carry around video games. She and her parents made a few changes to the design, but they did make a prototype, and in 1998, got it patented. Number 17, Crayon Holders, Cassidy Goldstein.
And what she didn't know at the time was she was actually creating a low-tech assistive technology device that's not only great for all kids, but also kids with disabilities and special needs.
As kids know, and as the parents of kids know, crayons break all the time. One day you have a fresh set of beautiful crayons, and not too long later, you have a set of crayon pieces. Some too small to even work with properly. Well, that was the problem 11-year-old Cassidy Goldstein was dealing with when she inserted a piece of crayon into a plastic tube used to keep flowers fresh during transport. This elegant solution became a patent in 2002. What followed was a licensing deal with Rand International for 5% of the sales and a 2006 Youth Inventor of the Year award from the Intellectual Property Owners Education Foundation.
I urge all of you to go home tonight. Inspire your kids, your nieces and nephews, your students and mentees, and encourage them to follow their dreams.
Number 16, Rties, Catherine K.K. Gregory.
What started in their home in Massachusetts has now exploded into a lucrative business that just moved into this mill building in Rollinsford.
In 1997, 13-year-old Catherine K.K. Gregory became the youngest person to sell a product on the QVC shopping network. Her product, invented 3 years earlier, was Rties. While we all think about keeping our arms and hands warm during those cold winter days, many of us forget about that oh-so-important body part between them, the wrists. On one cold winter day in 1994, Gregory felt her wrists getting really cold and painful, and it was that experience that led to her coming up with the idea for Rties. After taking some time off from the business to go to college, travel, and work as a videographer, Gregory came back to Rties in 2010 as CEO.
You don't have the individual finger placements of a cutoff glove, and it looks a lot cleaner with this.
Number 15, Magnetic Locker Wallpaper, Sarah Buckle. We all remember the fun of decorating the inside of our locker at school with posters, pictures, and such. But many of us also remember the non-fun of taking it all down at the end of the year and having to scrape off all the tape and that sticky residue.
This putrid rectangle of real estate may be small, but it's the one place in school where you can do what you want and show who you are.
As a kid, we may have thought that there ought to be a better way to do this, but unlike the rest of us, 14-year-old Sarah Buckle thought it and did something about it. What she did was talk to her dad, who was the COO at MagnaCard, about creating magnetic wallpaper for lockers.
It's magnets!
According to her dad, the company made boring magnetic business products, so this was exactly what they needed. Number 14. KidCare Riding Car, Spencer Whale. Spencer Whale was just 6 years old in 1998 when he visited a hospital and noticed how hard it was for sick children to play and move around when attached to an IV. So what did Whale do about it? He went home and worked on creating something that would allow children attached to IVs to be more mobile. What he came up with was the KidCare Riding Car. This plastic car was big enough for kids and their IVs, making it possible for these once immobile children to move around the hospital and feel just maybe a little more normal during these hard times. Number 13. Makin Bacon, Abby Fleck. We know that bacon makes everything taste better, but in the early 90s, 8-year-old Abby Fleck came up with a way to make making bacon better. It all started when she and her dad were cooking up some bacon and realized they didn't have any paper towels to soak up all that fat. This was the light bulb moment for Fleck, who thought of hanging the bacon so that the fat dripped off during the cooking process, making it cleaner and healthier. She and her dad got to work, and eventually, the Makin Bacon was born. In 2002, it was reported that Fleck was making $1 million in royalties from a distribution deal signed with Walmart. And it's still going strong today.
None of the bacon is touching the oil right now. Isn't that crazy? Look at that. None of it's touching the oil, and it's kind of crispy like I like it.
Number 12. Reconfigurable Toy Truck, Robert W. Patch. In June 1962, Robert W. Patch was just 5 years old when he took some old shoeboxes, nails, and bottle caps, setting out to make a toy truck. What he ended up with wasn't just any toy truck, though. It could be taken apart and put back together, and turned into different types of trucks as well. The young Patch might never have made history had his father not been a patent attorney and seen patent potential for his son's creation. At the age of 6, Patch became the youngest ever recipient of a U.S. patent. He could invent a new toy truck, but the young Patch still couldn't write his name, so he signed the patent papers with an X. Number 11. Water skiing, Ralph Samuelson. On October 27, 1925, Fred Waller was issued a patent for his Dolphin Aquaskis water skis. However, it was 3 years earlier that 18-year-old Ralph Samuelson had invented the sport and performed the first ride-on skis he created.
It came after several unsuccessful attempts, with those pine boards fully beneath him, underwater.
The problem for Samuelson was that he didn't patent his creation, nor was there sufficient acknowledgement of it to keep Waller from getting his patent 3 years later. For a while, Waller was even getting credited by some as the inventor of the sport. Thankfully, today, we can give Samuelson that well-deserved recognition, if not his well-deserved patent. Number 10. Popsicle, Frank Epperson. Here's a reason not to tell your kids to clean up. In 1905, after mixing soda powder and water in a cup with a stir stick, 11-year-old Frank Epperson of San Francisco abandoned his concoction on the porch for the night. The weather dropped to record lows for the city, and the next day, Epperson realized he had created a pretty cool treat. He then let the concept lie for 18 years before marketing and patenting it as the Epsicle in 1923. It was later changed to Popsicle, after his children referred to it as Popsicle. Today, over 2 billion Popsicles are sold each year and are a summer must.
I've become a pop star and just run it. I'm a Popsicle brand pop star.
Number 9. Earmuffs, Chester Greenwood.
Chester enjoyed the outdoors, and he would go skating with his friends on the Sandy River, and over time his ears became frostbite.
The cold's to blame for this invention, too. In 1873, while ice skating in Farmington, Maine, 15-year-old Chester Greenwood was bothered by his cold ears. Allergic to the wool used in then popular hats with ear flaps, Greenwood got creative. He took wire, shaped it into circles, and then asked his grandmother to sew what was either flannel or beaver fur onto them.
Chester Greenwood made a fortune manufacturing military earmuffs during World War I. and inspired a business that prospers anew with each winter cold spell.
He patented the idea by age 19, and earmuffs would go on to be used by American soldiers in World War I. Current residents of Farmington now hold a parade to celebrate Greenwood and his invention, which is still seen as an effective way to warm our ears.
So next time you feel Jack Frost nipping at your ears, remember Farmington's favorite son. And remember to put on your earmuffs.
Number 8. The Hot Seat. Alyssa Chavez.
Now, I close the door, and this key fob will sense how far away from the vehicle I'm getting.
From science fair project to potentially life-saving consumer childcare product, this small pad with a sensor can be placed by parents under an infant's booster or car seat. If the parent then walks further than 20 feet from the car, an alarm will sound on their phone and keychain.
There'll be an alarm on the key fob, on the vehicle, and then on the app for cell phones.
The car can also be equipped with an alarm to alert people nearby that there's an unattended infant in the vehicle. Growing up very close to children in her mother's daycare, 17-year-old Alyssa Chavez got the idea after researching the grim statistics of child hot car deaths. The product, now patented, is available through her company, Asila.
I got a patent in 2012, and I've been working with engineers since then to perfect the design and the schematics and what technology would be best to use for this.
Number 7. Water Talkie. Richie Stahowski.
Out of his $267 that he saved up, he funded the project himself.
Snorkeling can give you access to some awe-inspiring underwater sights. The only problem? You can't communicate with your friends until you're back on the surface. Having experienced this frustration firsthand on a trip to Hawaii, 11-year-old Richie Stahowski decided to find a solution. After researching how sound travels underwater and some experimentation, he created the Water Talkie, a simple but effective device that lets people talk to each other up to 15 feet away underwater.
I was seeing all these really cool fish underwater, and every time we came up to talk to each other, I just told my dad about the fish I saw, and then could never find him again because I couldn't talk underwater.
Following his pitch, Toys R Us ordered 50,000 Water Talkies, and Stahowski opened his own company, Short Stack LLC. 3 years and a few products later, he sold it for a reported $7 million. Number 6. All Electronic Television. Philo Farnsworth.
Philo sees something in the lines of Earth. The possibility of slicing an image into parallel rows.
Philo Farnsworth is considered one of the inventors of electronic TV, coming up with the idea for an image dissector at age 15. At the time, mechanical televisions worked by scanning pictures through a wheel with holes that would spin around, but Farnsworth wanted to scan images in a line pattern instead. He actually got the idea from the lines he would create when plowing fields. As a 21-year-old, he finished building the dissector. He later won a lengthy patent lawsuit with RCA, and after his death, was inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame.
Well, that's it, folks. There you have electronic television.
Number 5. The Modern Snowmobile. Joseph Armand Bombardier.
There was always a certain daredevil quality to my uncle, except for his hat, as he skimmed through the snow in what we called a big wooden bathtub.
Living in rural Quebec in the early 1900s, Joseph Armand Bombardier was always a tinkerer. Given an old Model T engine at 15, Bombardier worked on it with his brother, and in 1922 came up with his first snowmobile. Well, it was just a sled and a propeller powered by the Model T engine, but it was a start.
From his first experimental snowmobile to jet aircraft, Joseph Armand Bombardier's vision would eventually circle the world.
He later significantly improved the design, swapping out the propeller for Caterpillar tracks, and began marketing a multi-passenger vehicle in the 1930s and 40s. In the 1950s, he got back to his initial dream, producing the lightweight, more motorcycle-sized variety of Ski-Doo that's still used today.
The Ski-Doo is an instant success. Motorsport lovers take to the snowmobile by storm. A new industry is created.
Number 4. Trampoline. George Nissen.
Improved and made safe, the trampoline is really the first American contribution to the gymnastics field.
In 1930, after watching trapeze artists fall into their safety nets, 16-year-old George Nissen, a high school gymnast, thought it would be cool if the nets allowed the acrobats to bounce back up again and again. So he went out and found a rectangular metal frame, stretched canvas over, and created what he dubbed the bouncing rig.
I just feel like I could really turn over.
We don't want to see how the trial and error testing went for this one. Later, in university, his coach, Gary Griswold, helped him perfect his model. While they traveled the Southwest United States together, they learned the Spanish word for diving board, trampoline, and adopted this word for the invention.
When you get 90, well, you're glad to be any place, but this is great to see the trampoline progress so far.
Number 3. Calculator, Blaise Pascal. Sure, philosophers might know him from Pascal's wager, but this child prodigy gave us something the whole world can appreciate: the calculator. In 1642, at age 18, Pascal wanted to help his father calculate taxes and came up with Pascal's calculator, later renamed Pascaline. It could add or subtract 2 numbers and repeat to produce multiplication or division.
Over there in Clermont-Ferrand, where Pascal was born, is the mechanical calculator, or as he called it, machine arithmétique.
He released it to the public in 1645, and 4 years later, the king gave him the patent. Unfortunately, the calculator was quite heavy, expensive, and known for mechanical faults, and thus never saw commercial success. Others created calculating machines before and after, but Pascal is regarded as the father of the mechanical calculator. Number 2. Pancreatic cancer nanotubes test. Jack Andreka.
Jack's an average teenager in a lot of ways. But he's loved science since he was 3. And when his family lost a friend to pancreatic cancer, it made him think.
15-year-old Jack Andreka invented something that may very well save tens of thousands of lives. Because of the lack of funding for the less prevalent pancreatic cancers, ELISA, the detection method, was expensive, unreliable, and hadn't been updated in over 60 years.
When I compared it to the current gold standard of protein detection called ELISA, it was actually 168 times faster, over 26,000 times less expensive, and over 400 times more sensitive.
With the recent discovery of carbon nanotubes, however, Andreka and his mentor at Johns Hopkins University were able to create a more reliable test at a fraction of the cost. His initial idea was reportedly rejected by 199 labs before one professor gave him a chance. He went on to win the Youth Achievement Smithsonian American Ingenuity Award and $75,000 at the Intel International Science and Engineering Fair.
It is my honor to present to you the top award winners of the 2012 Intel International Science and Engineering.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. The Braille Alphabet, Louis Braille.
You feel that? One dot in the top corner represents an A.
That's an A. What's a B feel like?
Having lost his vision in a childhood accident, Louis Braille attended a school for blind people. The books had raised letters so the students could learn with their fingers, but this caused the books to be bulky and expensive. In search of a more effective alternative, Braille learned a military code called night writing. By 1824, he had developed a similar but simplified style of code based on 6 dots.
You don't have a spelling system. You just have dots and dashes that represent sounds.
Now what on earth would a blind person want with spelling?
He was just 15 years old at the time. Today, there's an estimated 285 million visually impaired people in the world. Braille's code has been translated into many languages, making the written word more efficient and accessible for people with visual impairments and low vision across the globe.
You read Braille?
Yeah, don't you?
Oh, no, I'm not,
Blind? It's all right to say it.
Which of these under 20 inventors impressed you the most? Let us know in the comments. Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.